Imagine breaking your leg today. You call an ambulance, go to a hospital, get a cast, and in a few weeks you're walking again. Simple. Now imagine breaking your leg 50,000 years ago. No doctors, no medicine, painkillers, no hospital, nothing. You can't walk, you can't run, you can't hunt, you can't gather food, you can't escape predators, you can't even stand up to drink water from a stream. In a world where survival depends entirely on movement, a broken bone should have been an automatic death sentence. But it wasn't, and what actually happened to injured and disabled people in prehistoric times is one of the most surprising and emotional stories in all of human history. A story that completely changes what we think we know about our ancestors. Most people assume that ancient humans were brutal, cold, merciless, survival of the fittest. If you couldn't keep up, you were left behind to die. If you couldn't contribute, you were a burden. If you slowed the group down, they abandoned you without looking back. That's what we were taught. That's what logic suggests in a world where every single day is a fight for survival, where food is scarce, where predators are everywhere, where one weak link could get the entire group killed. But the evidence tells a completely different story, and once you see it, you can never look at your ancestors the same way again. Let's start with a skeleton found in a cave. In 1971, archaeologists were excavating a cave called Shanidar in northern Iraq. Deep inside, they discovered the remains of a Neanderthal man. They named him Shanidar I, and when they carefully examined his bones, what they found shocked them. This man had been severely disabled. His entire right arm was withered and useless, shrunken from the shoulder down, probably from birth or a devastating injury in early childhood. The bones showed it had never developed properly. He could not have used that arm for anything his entire life. But that wasn't all. He was blind in his left eye. The bone around his eye socket showed evidence of a massive trauma that would have destroyed his vision permanently. He had suffered a crushing blow to the left side of his face at some point, fracturing his cheekbone, and his right foot showed signs of a painful degenerative condition that would have made every step agony. Let me paint this picture clearly. A one-armed, half-blind man with a crushed face and a bad foot in the Ice Age, surrounded by cave lions, wolves, and bears, in a world where hunting mammoths and gathering food in harsh terrain was how you survived. By every logical measure, this man should not have survived past childhood. He couldn't hunt. He couldn't fight. He couldn't carry heavy loads. He couldn't do most of the physical tasks that prehistoric life demanded every single day. But he didn't die young. He lived to be approximately 40 to 50 years old, in a time when average life expectancy was around 30. This severely disabled man outlived most healthy, able-bodied people of his era. Let that sink in. Someone was taking care of him, not for a day, not for a week, for decades. Think about what that actually means in practical terms. This wasn't a one-time act of kindness. This was years and years, possibly 30 or more years, of another person or multiple people feeding him every day, protecting him from threats, helping him move from place to place, keeping him warm during brutal Ice Age winters, sharing their own food with him when food was already scarce enough for the healthy members of the group. In a world where every single calorie mattered, where every additional mouth to feed increased the risk of starvation for everyone, they chose to keep him alive anyway. They chose compassion over cold efficiency every single day for decades. And Shanidar I is not some miraculous one-time exception. He's not even close to being the only example. The more we dig, the more we find. In Vietnam, archaeologists discovered the skeleton of a young man who lived approximately 4,000 years ago. His name, assigned by researchers, was Burial 9. And his condition was heartbreaking. He was completely paralyzed from the waist down. Both legs were withered, fused, and completely non-functional. His spine showed severe damage. He could not now move his lower body at all. He could not walk. He could not crawl. He could not shift himself from one position to another without help. But here's what's remarkable. He lived in this condition for over a decade, at least 10 years of complete paralysis. Someone carried him every day. Someone fed him. Someone cleaned him. Someone moved him when he needed to be moved. Someone sat with him. Someone talked to him. Every single day, for 10 years or more, other human beings chose to dedicate significant time and energy to caring for someone who could give nothing physical in return. It's in a subsistence society where everyone's labor mattered. They gave freely to someone who could never repay them with work. Then there's the case from Dmanisi in the Republic of Georgia. Archaeologists found a skull there dating back an astonishing 1.8 million years, 1.8 million years ago. This is one of the oldest known examples of what we're talking about. This individual had lost every single tooth, all of them, gone, and not recently lost either. The jawbone had completely healed over and smoothed out, meaning they had been toothless for years before death. Now think about what teeth meant 1.8 million years ago. There was no cooking at this point in history, no soft foods. You needed teeth to tear raw meat off bone. You needed teeth to chew tough roots and fibrous plants. You needed teeth to crack nuts and strip bark. Without teeth, you could not feed yourself. Period. It was physically impossible to eat the foods available at that time without teeth to process them. But this person survived for years, years without teeth. How? The only possible explanation is that someone else was processing food for them, breaking it down, softening it, possibly even chewing it first, and then passing it to them. The way a mother bird feeds her young, someone chose to spend their own time and energy preparing food for a person who couldn't chew. Not once, not as an experiment, but as a daily commitment sustained over years. 1.8 million years ago, before language as we know it, before fire was widely controlled, before any concept of morality or religion or philosophy existed, compassion was already there. These are not isolated cases. Every year, archaeologists find more evidence in France, Spain, China, South Africa, Indonesia. The same pattern appears over and over across continents and across hundreds of thousands of years of human history. Ancient humans with devastating injuries and disabilities who survived far longer than their conditions should have allowed. And there is only one explanation for every single case. Other people helped them, willingly, consistently, for years. Now here's the question that makes this truly fascinating. Why? Why would ancient humans spend precious resources keeping a disabled person alive? In a pure survival calculation, it makes no sense. Keeping a person who can't hunt, can't gather, can't fight, can't run, that means less food for everyone else, less mobility for the group, more vulnerability to predators, more weight to carry when migrating. From a cold, logical survival-first perspective, it's a terrible strategy, but humans have never been purely logical survival machines. And this is where the real story gets interesting. Some researchers believe that disabled and elderly individuals contributed to the group in ways we don't immediately recognize when we think about prehistoric survival. A man who can't hunt because of a withered arm might still be the most skilled toolmaker in the group. Working with one hand, sitting in camp all day, he could produce dozens of stone tools while the hunters are away. His disability gave him time to practice and perfect a craft. The blind elder who can't see the path might be the one who remembers every poisonous plant, every dangerous water source, every animal behavior pattern from 50 years of observation before losing his sight. He's a walking encyclopedia in a world without books. The paralyzed woman who can't walk might be the best teacher of children. While every able-bodied adult is away hunting and gathering, She watches the young ones, teaches them skills, tells them stories, passes down knowledge that took generations to accumulate. In a world without writing, without schools, without recorded information of any kind, elderly and disabled people were the library, the database, the repository of all accumulated knowledge. Letting them die didn't just end a life. It erased irreplaceable information that could take another lifetime to rediscover. The person who remembers the lamp's last drought, the one who knows which mountain pass is safe in winter, the one who remembers how to treat a snake bite because she saw it done 40 years ago. Losing these people was like burning a library, and so keeping them alive wasn't just compassion, it was intelligent. But there's another reason that goes even deeper than practical value. One that touches something fundamental about how human societies work. When you live in a group where injured members are cared for, something powerful happens to everyone in that group. You take bigger risks. You hunt more dangerous animals. You explore further into unknown territory. You fight harder when the group is threatened. Because you know, deep in your gut, that if something goes wrong, they won't leave you behind. If a mammoth crushes your leg, they'll carry you home. If you fall from a cliff and can't walk, they'll feed you until you heal. If you grow old and slow, they won't abandon you in the cold. This unspoken start agreement transforms everything about how a group functions. It's called reciprocal altruism. I help you now because someday I might need help. And everyone in the group benefits from knowing that safety net exists. Now, think about it from the opposite direction. Imagine living in a group that abandons anyone who gets hurt. Would you volunteer to be the first one to attack a dangerous predator? Would you scout unknown territory alone? Would you take any risk at all beyond the absolute minimum required for personal survival? No, you would be careful, conservative, terrified, because one wrong step, one unlucky moment, and your own people would leave you to die. Fear creates cowardice, trust creates courage, and courage creates survival advantages that pure cold logic cannot replicate. The groups that cared for their sick and injured produced braver hunters, bolder explorers, more loyal defenders. And those groups outcompeted the ones that abandoned their wounded. So compassion wasn't weakness. It wasn't a luxury. It wasn't charity. It was a survival strategy, and one of the most powerful ones ever developed. The groups that cared survived. The groups that didn't disappeared from history. We are the descendants of the caring ones. That's not sentiment. That's biology. There's something else happening here, too. Something that separates humans from almost every other species that has ever existed on this planet. Most animals do not care for their disabled. A wolf with a broken leg is left behind by the pack within days. A bird that can't fly is abandoned by its flock. An antelope that can't run becomes food for lions within hours. Nature is brutally efficient. The weak die so the strong can survive without being slowed down. But humans broke that rule. Somewhere deep in our evolutionary history, our ancestors made a decision that no other species made. They decided that a person's value was not measured only by what they could physically do today, that a blind man still deserved to eat, that a paralyzed woman still deserved protection, that a toothless elder still belonged to the group, that being alive, being conscious, being one of us was enough. This wasn't instinct. Every survival instinct screams to save resources for the strong, to abandon the weak, to prioritize the healthy. This was a conscious choice, a moral choice, made by people we assume had no concept of morality, and it happened over 1 million years ago. Long before any religion told people to care for the weak, long before any philosophy argued for compassion, long before any government mandated it, long before civilizations itself existed. We didn't invent compassion, we evolved it. It's built into us at the deepest level of what makes us human. It's older than language, older than controlled fire. older than art, older than music. It might be the oldest truly human trait we have. There's a famous quote attributed to anthropologist Margaret Mead, though its origin is debated. A student asked her what she considered the first sign of civilization. The student expected her to say a tool or a weapon, or a clay pot, or a religious artifact. But she said a healed femur, a broken thigh bone that mended, because a healed femur means someone stayed with the injured person, carried them to safety, splinted the leg somehow, brought them water, brought them food, protected them from predators while they lay helpless. Did this every day for weeks while the bone knit back together. A healed femur means someone's sacrificed their own time, energy, and safety to help another person survive something that should have killed them. In the animal kingdom, a broken femur is death. Every time. No exceptions. You cannot survive alone with a broken leg in the wild. But in the human world, it became survivable. Because we chose to make it survivable. We chose to help, and we've been making that choice for over 1 million years. A healed bone is not just evidence of medicine. It's evidence of love. And that love is the oldest thing we've ever built. Older than any wall. Older than any city. Older than any monument. So the next time someone tells you the world is cruel, that humans are naturally selfish, that compassion is a modern luxury we can't afford, that caring for the vulnerable is weakness. Remember Shanidar 1. A severely disabled Neanderthal who lived to old age because his people loved him enough to feed him and protect him for 30 years when he could give them nothing in return. Remember the paralyzed man in Vietnam who was carried and cared for every single day for a decade by people who simply refused to let him die alone. Remember the toothless elder in Georgia who someone fed by hand every meal for years, almost 2 million years ago. These are not exceptions to human nature. These are human nature. We are the species that chose compassion when every rational reason said don't, when survival logics said abandon them, when cold efficiency said let them go. We said no. We said they stay. We said they matter. And that choice, made 1 million years ago by people whose names we will never know, is the single most important thing that ever made us human. If you found this interesting, subscribe. I tell stories like this every week. Next time, we're looking at how ancient humans actually thought about death and what they did about it. I'll see you there.